How's it, folks? I have recently been spending a few hours in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, and I've honestly been having a decent amount of fun with it so far. For those of you unfamiliar, Deep Rock Galactic has you working for a mining company digging out rare minerals from an asteroid infested with an aggressive insect population, and the Survivor game plays out similar to Vampire Survivors, where you select your character and class and try to complete a run. Each run has 5 levels where you delve deeper until you defeat the big bad boss and return with your loot. You then use that loot to purchase permanent upgrades that will allow you to take on more challenges in different arenas. And just like Vampire Survivors, you earn XP from killing the bugs and mining rare resources and completing the secondary objectives that ranks you up. Each level up lets you choose an upgrade for things like increased damage, reduced loading time, faster mining and moving, and so on. The weapons also can be overclocked that significantly increase their performances at level 6, 12 and 18, although you can only overclock a weapon after upgrading that weapon to level 12. So it might be a decent idea to focus on a weapon and accept that you likely are going to fail that run just to let you overclock it in future runs. At the moment this game has just started early access and has 3 biomes with about 5 difficulties associated with each one. There are 4 characters, the Scout, Gunner, Engineer and Driller, and they each have 3 classes. You will start off with the Scout, which is a fast little guy that gets increased movement speed and reload speed after dodging enemy attacks, so you want to get up close and personal to trigger the dodges. He also does very well with a shotgun kinetic build, and about halfway through the run you should start mowing down the hordes of enemies. He is also probably the best for triggering the exploding insects as they build up and then blow themselves up when you approach, so you can dart in and out and get them to commit a lot of friendly fire. It's honestly quite cool to set off a chain reaction of them blowing each other up. Next up is the Gunner, that starts off with a minigun that spews out a hail of bullets but ends up with a long reload time. Stacking reload buffs with him quickly allows you to start steamrolling the enemies until there is none left in your path. He also pairs well with shotguns with the knockback effect to keep the critters away from him. The third dwarf you unlock is the Engineer, that starts with turrets that you plant while stationary, leading to a slightly different playstyle as you need to create kill zones and funnel the insects through them until you can unlock more weapons that give you more options. I do like that one of the overclock options for the turrets allows you to make them mobile, and then you have these cute little fellas following along behind you as you run around. The final dwarf you unlock is the Driller, which starts off with a pistol that only shoots behind you and drills for hands, that lets him mine faster the longer he is actively mining. So for him, you should keep mining with terrain on either side of you until you reach level 5 and can unlock your next weapon. He also pairs well with the artifacts that earn extra resources while mining, or the one that lets you get XP while mining, in which case I tend to change things up a bit and try and clear out the terrain instead of focusing on the enemies. Speaking of artifacts, they are one of the few ways you can change up a run. Each stage lets you get a supply drop, and after clearing the terrain around it, you need to stay in the area until it lands. You can also use it to kill off a bunch of enemies by carting them into the kill zone. I even managed to get the killing blow using the supply drop on the final boss enemy that is usually quite the tanky fella. When you get to the supply drop, you have a choice of 3 artifacts to choose from, with my favorite at the moment probably being the one that lets me deal more damage the more gold I am currently carrying, which gives me extra incentive to go mining. Meta progression at the moment isn't that great, and I hope it is something that either gets changed or added to during the early access. In its current state, it relies on you mining the rare resources in each level and spending it and some cash to upgrade some stat lines by 1 to 4% points each upgrade. And stats like damage and reload speed use the same resource, so you need to prioritize. I would prefer something that adds more variation or encourages specific builds, because at the moment they are all very generic. Maybe damage combos like kinetic and Kara, or fire and plasma deal more damage when affecting the same target, or something along those lines. Basically something just to change things up a little bit. Having said all that, there is a lot going for this game, and it is one of those games that make you want to play one more round, keep going. The audio and presentation is great at the moment, but one little gripe about that is basically every round starts off with the mission controls saying you on your own. So I would like some new voice lines rather than something I've heard many times already, just to change things up a bit. There is enough mentioned on their roadmap that makes me feel there will be an even better game for release, such as the new overclocks, new artifacts, new missions and bosses and new biomes, and making a Bosco Bold possible. If you plan to wishlist it or buy it yourself, then I will have a Steam link in the description. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Rock and stone.